in different jurisdictions, different countries, it's not easy. We have to understand that sometimes there are some legal and regulatory issues in different countries that will affect how much growth we see, signals these countries send to people, to investors and so on, in terms of changes specifically in taxation and so on. So what we have to understand is that regulators, even we shouldn't be suspicious and say, oh, it's because of whatever reason. Sometimes, and I have been working with some of these regulators when we try to approve some of the contracts and talk to them, especially the governments, when we bring the contract and we try to explain and they say, why are you doing this way or that way? Sometimes when you speak to them, you understand what they are trying to do is really to protect the customer, really to protect the customer. They want to understand why you're doing what you're doing. How is the customer going to be affected? Is there a transparency? Is there a possibility that through this they might create some loopholes that are not desirable? So it's sometimes you have to respect the laws and protection and intentions of the regulators. And when they understand you, they will understand that this way is the most perfect way of protecting. And then they will really embrace, and they will be a champions if they understood, and if we are able to explain. So I would say when I travel around the world, when I see the banking growing in Malaysia 30%, Indonesia 5%, in the Middle East, in Africa, in Europe. I was just recently in Bosnia. Islamic Bank there is one of the fastest growing bank in Sarajevo, for example. When I was in Egypt a couple of years ago, I have seen something like 60-70% of the banks all apply for Islamic license from central bank. Some of them convert 100%, and so on and so forth. So I see young people study in Indonesia, tens of thousands to become Islamic bankers, accountants, business people, from microfinancing to the complex transactions. They want to help their country move forward and so on. So wherever you look, you see young people, entrepreneurial spirit. It is driving people to change. So I believe that people understand that even in the Western countries, they progress and they build their countries by being open-minded and ready to embrace new ways of dealing with finance. Look at just technology, how it is shaping the way we deal with money and finance. Peer-to-peer lending, the apps that handle the money, all of these virtual currency. All of these things are showing us that young people and generally how we interact with each other and how we interact with the economy and the money and things are changing. And Islam must participate in this, not just to make it Sharia compliant, but this is just the way things are moving. This is how we are participating in a different way in this economy. So all of these regulation and taxation are there to protect people. What I feel is that for those who want to be at the edge and lead the progress, they must embrace and change sometimes very old-fashioned taxation rules, old-fashioned, and we see that. I was just looking in Australia, for example, where government is changing rule how to do equity fundraising through these crowdfunding websites. So equity crowdfunding for the project to help startups. And this is, if we understood Musharaka, this is something that is something that could work with Islamic principles, for example, to start new projects that are not debt-based, for instance, and so on and so forth. So I can see that things are moving, changing, and we should always push forward, no matter how much we are satisfied with the progress and how much progress we are making. We should always push forward and make it better